Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is now 7 p.m. and we are live on Zoom.
They used to be open at 5, pre-COVID.
Good evening, everybody. So this is our combination council meeting. We actually have a workshop in the middle of it. So this evening, we're going to do a State of the City up front and public comment. Then we will shift to the workshop where the council just prepares for resolutions, and then we'll come back, do reports. We'll do, we got 4 resolutions on the slate tonight, and then we'll also have public comments again if you want. So let's start, we call the meeting to order, and we'll do a pledge. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let me do a roll call. Councilmember Gorton.
Present.
Councilmember Smith.
Present.
Councilmember Grant.
Here.
Councilmember Wake.
Here.
Councilmember Krasikov.
Here.
And Councilmember Galata.
Present.
All right, mayor's here. Kyriakou. All right. Once a year I get to do State of the City. I promise not to be 107 minutes. There are some slides. There are no medals, but you know, we'll get started, and I'll stop being snide. Anyway, I am pleased to present Beacon's State of the City to the City Council, to our community, to highlight our achievements in 2025 and to look to our goals for 2026. In a word, the state of the city remains excellent, with 2025 seeing substantial completion of the rehabilitation of Fishkill and Teller Avenues, investments in trails, parks, and quality of life, and continued recognition of the city's amazing comeback while maintaining our solid financial position. As I enter my 7th year as mayor, I just want to thank the community for placing its confidence in me. I look forward to working with the entire council, 2 veterans and 4 new members, to continue building upon not only last year's successes, but also the decades of hard work of prior mayors and councils. Let me start with the state of the city financially, which enables us to offer our residents services and improvements without raising taxes dramatically. Then I will turn to our accomplishments in 2025 in our quality of life, infrastructure, and sustainability, and then highlight some of our exciting plans for 2026. So, you know me, I'm going to start with finances. But as I say, it's fundamental to what we do. Beacon's financial health remains the best it has been in decades. We have undertaken additional major capital projects in 2025, park rehabilitations, roads and sidewalks, water and wastewater upgrades, plus continuing to build our employee quality and productivity. We've done that while keeping property tax increases modest by prioritizing and spacing out expenses, overseeing new private construction that adds to our tax base, and increases in sales tax and other revenues. The 2026 city budget, the City Council passed a $37.5 million combined operating budget for 2026, which was my most challenging budget as mayor due to substantial employee salary increases needed to stay competitive in hiring. That said, that budget that we passed lowers tax rate. The city's homestead tax rate fell to $5.49 per $1,000 of assessed value, our lowest rate since 2029. For those of you who can see the slides, the top left is the homestead rate. So that rate is, as I mentioned, $5.49, it rounds to $5.50, per $1,000 of assessed value. So the way to read that is if your home is worth $500,000, then your taxes will be $5.50 times 500 because it's per $1,000. And you can see the decline, and you think the decline's normal. The period in yellow is the period that I've presented budgets as mayor. Not very long ago, this rate was rising, right? And particularly in the 90s, it had to rise because Beacon's assessment was falling, and we're in very much the opposite pattern now. Right, so we're at $5.49. For comparison, that same tax rate is over $10 for the cities of Kingston, Poughkeepsie, and Newburgh, which is where we were when I got in the council in the 90s. So again, not just this particular administration, but it's taken us several decades to kind of get here. We expect to continue lowering the city's tax rate by expanding our tax base with new construction, which ensures that residents are not overburdened. We have a modest property tax increase. The total tax levy, that's the $13.9 million, is a 4.8% increase over 2025. However, that's below the state property tax cap, which is 2%. So you kind of wonder, how does he manage that? So part of it is new construction. And so if you look at the graphic, the table on the bottom left, what you see is the growth of the tax levy, and you see for this year, the last year, it's 4.8%, but a large portion of it comes from new construction. So if you see the next line, you can see each year we're adding 2, 3%, 1.9%, last year 2.1%, to our tax base from new construction. So instead of 100 homes having to pay all the taxes, this year we have 102.1 homes that have to pay all those taxes, which means the first 2% of that 4.8 is covered by new construction, which means the rate that the rest of us who are already here have to pay is only the 2.7. And we also bank some property tax cap because in prior years we didn't go to the full rate, right? We used a little bit of that this year. All right, so we stay below the tax cap, and a lot of it has to do with new construction, right? And for comparison, the tax levy increases in neighboring cities. We did a 4.8. Kingston, it was 9.9 again. Poughkeepsie was 7.9. They were 9-something last year. Newburgh was 2.9%. I give them a lot of credit. They get a ton more money than we do nowadays in terms of federal and state aid, but bless them. So those two bits. Employee salaries were the big issue for us. So we reached amicable agreements with all 3 employee unions, police, fire, and CSEA, in the last 18 months, which required us to keep salaries competitive, and we needed to catch up with the higher inflation that took place during the prior agreement, right? And because of that, those are the largest increases, and we're fundamentally a people business. So that was making the budget tough. Despite the large increase in employee and pay benefits, the overall cost to taxpayers was largely offset by other sources. So you've already seen the benefit of these agreements in terms of the gradual filling of key vacancies, such as in the police and fire department. We also had higher tax revenue, so we keep getting the benefit from sales tax revenue, and that's the chart on the right. Before we negotiated the new 10-year agreement with the county, you could see the pattern was 4-point-some million. And then that first year it jumps to 6, and this year we're expecting it to be around 6.5 million. So that 10-year sales tax sharing agreement that I negotiated in 2021 continues to deliver benefits for us. Our share of county taxes, as I mentioned, is supposed to be a record 6.5 million. That's up 1.7 million from the base year, meaning the last year of the old agreement, and it's going to keep rising. So we have a big benefit there. If you think about our big sources of additional revenue for the city, not counting property taxes, it's that new construction, that 2 or 2.5% a year, which can't last forever, but we're in the middle of that growth phase, and then also the sales tax agreement. And again, that won't last forever either. So we're looking at some new sources. So in terms of new construction, let me just spend a moment there. We added $47 million to our tax base in terms of new construction last year, and $225 million in the past 6 years of my budgets. Our base is around $2 billion, so $225 million over $2 billion is more than 10%. Added to our tax base in the last 6 years, which is a big deal for us. It allows us to do the kinds of investments that we're looking to do. Not only do they contribute new revenue, but they also do rec fees as well for the larger projects, so we get additional recreation funding. In addition, we're looking at new revenue sources. There's 2 new ones added to this budget. There's a 2% occupancy tax on hotel. I think we added that last year. I think, but we're just starting to get benefit from it. We will renew it this year. and also on short-term rentals. And then we get a share of the state cannabis tax from dispensaries that are opening in Beacon. And then finally, the city has maintained its AA2 Moody's bond rating, and that's one of the highest among communities in the valley. This reduces our borrowing cost, and we do borrow a lot. It's the one issue that our bond raters tell us is, not as strong as they'd like it to be. But we borrow because the rates are attractive, and we've been doing just generational investments to catch up on our infrastructure. So that reduces our costs. I want to switch gears and talk about trails, parks, recreation, and quality of life. We continue to increase both the programming budget and the capital investments in our parks, our recreation, and soon a rail trail, funded in large part from new construction that adds to our property tax base and provides rec fees. The biggest news is that the city is committed to converting in the next 2 years the disused rail tracks from our train station to Main Street and beyond into Beacon's own rail trail. On the top left, that's the, where the tracks are and where we're expecting it to be. So this vision began with the city asking Dutchess County Planning to undertake a feasibility study to convert the 12.5-mile Beacon-Hopewell rail spur into a rail trail, and we helped garner support from neighboring communities. As soon as the overall feasibility study was completed in October, I proposed, and the council approved up to $350,000 in our own capital funding for engineering plans for the 3.5-mile portion of the Beacon portion of the rail trail, with expected construction in 2027. This will create a level trail from the Beacon train station along the Hudson River, past Dennings Point and Madam Brett Parks, alongside Fishkill Creek, running directly adjacent to Main Street and our dummy light, then alongside Route 52 and ending at the city line. The Beacon Rail Trail is currently my top priority as mayor, the equivalent of a new linear park in our community, which will be transformative. Will be allowing us for walking and biking to our commuter trains, to our waterfront, to parks, to Main Street, and more. And we're working with the county and other communities to encourage the full build-out of the rail trail, which will connect us to the 700-mile Empire Trail State Trail System in Hopewell Junction. We're also partnering with the Fjord Trail, which will be going from Beacon to Breakneck Ridge. As mayor, I wholeheartedly support the proposed Hudson Highlands Fjord Trail from Beacon to Breakneck. Who knows if it will go any further, and have encouraged their leadership to begin building in Beacon. The Fjord Trail Board announced just that this past month, accelerating construction of their trail in Beacon, linking it to the Beacon Rail Trail, siting their maintenance facility next to the city's wastewater treatment plant, and installing public bathrooms at the trailhead next to the train station. Together, the Fjord Trail and the Beacon Rail Trail are foundational to enhancing Beacon's health, climate sustainability, and quality of life, and we're thrilled to have the Fjord Trail as a partner. More announcements to come on trails in Beacon. So let's switch to Rec and Park. The 2026 budget for operating Beacon's parks and recreation programs is over $1.1 million. The third year in a row it has exceeded $1 million. And as you can see from the chart, it averaged only around $300,000 in years 2010 to 2014. Right? So we've been consistently upping the operational budgets, which has allowed us to do a lot of new programming. This is a huge commitment to our quality of life. It funds a large expansion of affordable programming for youth, seniors, and the community. The city is building upon its services in 2026 with a spring youth employment program and an additional summer camp to be held at Memorial Park. We also have been doing park investments, as you, I think, mostly know. We continue to make major capital improvements at our parks, following on the heels of the 2024 rebuild of the We Play toddler playground. In 2025, we renovated the basketball and tennis courts at South Avenue Park and installed the first permanent restrooms there. We also upgraded the skate park, parking, and fencing at Memorial Park. This year, we will continue our investments with upgrades to softball fields and basketball courts at Memorial Park. And many of these ideas have come from Beacon High School students via our participatory budgeting program. We're also working on Beekman Street. We launched the engineering design phase of the Beekman Street Pedestrian and Bicycling Improvement Project, which will run from the train station up Beekman Street to Route 9D. It is a complete street upgrade for the city, for which we received 95% grant funding of $3.6 million. The city has worked with Dutchess County Transportation Council as well on a pedestrian facility inventory this year, which we hope will be completed in April. This inventory will provide mapping and conditions of our existing sidewalk network, which will give us a planning tool for prioritizing sidewalk rehabilitation or filling gaps to further walkability. We also worked on helping our neighbors. So when the SNAP funding program at the federal level was suspended, the city immediately stepped in with emergency food funding for local grocery cards. Luckily, that gap turned out to be only a short-lived one, but we were willing to step in for at least a period of time to help our neighbors. Also, this year, 2026, marks the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So much of our history of our nation's founding took place in New York and right here in the Hudson Valley and in Beacon. We are one of the only communities in the state named for our local role in the Revolutionary War, serving as the major ferry crossing for Patriot leaders and the Continental Army, but also as part of a chain of signal fires or beacons along the Hudson. I've already convened a coordinating group to maintain a common calendar for America 250 celebration activities and to encourage additional ones. More to come. I then want to talk about additional infrastructure investment. So over the past 6 years, the city has implemented or advanced a record $52 million in major capital improvements for our public roads, parks, water, and sewer facilities. Although many of these projects may seem invisible, they greatly enhance the quality of life and security in Beacon. We continue to methodically modernize and improve our century-old infrastructure by prioritizing and timing our projects and securing funding sources other than property taxes. I think the piece you know best is Fishkill and Teller Avenue. Obviously, we've been working on that for a while. At the end of 2025, I'm pleased to say, we marked the substantial completion of the rehabilitation of those avenues. This effort dates back to 2001 and had the city administrator not prioritize the time-intensive right-of-way acquisition process and final engineering design, we were at risk of losing $9 million in federal and state funding. We will address some punch list items this spring and then repave the final segment of Fishkill Avenue from Blackburn to the city line. In addition, the city continues its systematic milling and repaving of 5 to 10% of Beacon roads each year and rehabilitating sidewalks. Water and sewer. At the end of 2025, the city completed the replacement of the nearly 100-year-old water and sewer mains along Fishkill Avenue, underneath the avenue, in anticipation of repaving. We also completed and opened the new West Main pump station and force main near the train station, which connects part of the city to our wastewater treatment facility. In 2026, we will begin the rehabilitation of the Melzinga Reservoir Dam and the replacement of the Mount Beacon water storage tank. We also have continued to modernize our wastewater treatment plant, including the replacement of our decades-old belt press system with a new centrifuge system to dewater sludge. I'm not exactly sure what that means. And the replacement of the aeration blowers. I couldn't find a good photo of that. Both will be completed in the coming months. The city is also moving forward with grant funding of energy efficiency upgrades at the plant's administration building in 2026. This project is expected to include measures such as new windows, lighting, retrofits, and installation of an air source heat pump and more. I'd also like to talk about our continued climate leadership. We continue to be a leader of municipal sustainability as one of the first communities to achieve New York's highest silver certified climate smart community status. We are one of only 24 communities out of 1,600 in the state that has that status. We were amongst the first 3 communities to be recertified in 2025. The amazing thing is this gives us access to grants that fund our sustainability efforts. The biggest one we got so far, so the best holiday gift at the end of 2025, was learning that the city was awarded a $2 million Climate Smart grant for the rehabilitation of the Melzinger Reservoir Dam, which has been at the top of our capital project list. So we're thrilled at the ability to get that work done and not ask our taxpayers to cover most of it. This winter, we also completed installation of a new 100 kilowatt solar power array at the top of our highway garage, which will increase the city's self-generated electric capacity to around 75%. We purchase renewable energy credits for the rest so that we can be 100% energy, renewable energy for the city. And we produce, this highway garage solar array will produce enough clean energy for more than 10 homes, just to give you a sense of it. We will dedicate the facility around Earth Day this spring, and the project is partially grant funded, and we owe a special thank you to Assemblymember Jacobson for his securing of funding. We continue to work on a green municipal fleet and also on EV charging stations. So we continue to use grant funding from our Climate Smart grants to transition our municipal fleet to electric vehicles, focusing on high-use vehicles. In 2025, we added electric vehicles to 4 departments, and we expect to add 2 more in the coming months, again, all fully grant funded. We also expect to install 3 new dual-port electric vehicle charging stations in municipal lots this year, 2 at City Hall and another at the Community Center on West Center Street. And then I'd like to spend a little bit of time on zoning and planning for Beacon's future. The renaissance that our city and our Main Street have experienced is in no small part due to a critical reimagining of our city back in the 90s and smart ongoing planning and zoning since. We continue to steer our zoning and planning processes to maintain Main Street's revival and historic character and to make Beacon a more sustainable and livable city. We keep getting recognized for our city's rapid renaissance and our revitalized historic Main Street. Let me just list them, and I don't think I got them all. World Atlas called us one of 8 fairy tale small towns in New York. I was quoted by the Poughkeepsie Journal with this: so Beacon's fairy tale is a rags to riches story, a journey from a tired small city with closed factories and a largely boarded up Main Street to a vibrant community between the Hudson and the Highlands that combines dining variety, eclectic arts and retail, historic preservation, and high quality of life. I Love New York listed us as one of 15 best Main Streets in New York State. Hudson Valley Magazine gave us best neighborhood or city to visit this year. Traveler's Elixir, one of 8 beautiful New York Main Streets. Time Out Magazine, #1 weekend getaway from New York City without a car. Walker's Paradise, a listing that gave us a walkability score of 96 out of 100. Friendliest Town, World Atlas also named us one of 11 friendliest towns in New York. Our Central Fire Station, Firehouse Magazine, gave that a Silver Design Award, which is a fitting compliment to our historic Main Street. And we also got the cleanest Main Street, one of 3 New York communities listed amongst the cleanest Main Streets in America. A shout out to our Highway Department for their weekly rounds to keep our community clean and accessible. And of the various photos, obviously 2 of them you know. The one in the middle is the bend in Main Street in the 90s when my wife and I moved into town. And actually the bend is on the right now, just to give you a sense of where we were and how far we've come. Fishkill Avenue Concepts Committee. This committee made its final report at the end of 2025, and the City Council will be taking up zoning recommendations for the area along 52 in the next year or so. While we don't want it to compete with Main Street, many hope the Route 52 area will gradually include more mixed residential and retail uses, the development of the Beacon Rail Trail alongside the road, and an access road to our schools and the Camp Beacon area. Finally, on encouraging housing and affordability. Addressing the housing shortage in the U.S. or New York or even the Hudson Valley is not going to be solved by Beacon alone, but we will help lead by example. We continue to focus on encouraging housing construction and other ways to address affordability. Dutchess County Planning has recognized that Beacon continues to do more than its fair share in the county to improve housing and affordability, with almost 30% of our rental units in affordable programs, second only to Poughkeepsie in the county. And 25% of the new units constructed in the last 6 to 7 years have involved reduced rent programs. The state has recognized Beacon as a pro-housing community, which opens up funding options. At our train station, planning is currently underway to build housing and replacement parking on the commuter parking lot north of West Main Street, which is going to be consistent with our current zoning and will also include 10% of the units with below-market rents. And last year, the lion's share of the state's +1 ADU funding for constructing accessory units, so that's a state grant program to homeowners who qualify to add an accessory unit in their homes. The lion's share of the awards in Dutchess County were awarded to Beacon homeowners. Round 2 will start this year. And then just some final words. As I said at the start, am I over 100 minutes yet? I guess not. So, sorry, I couldn't help it. As I said at the start, the state of Beacon remains excellent. Together, we have accomplished much during the last 6 years as mayor, building on the hard work of our prior mayors and council back to when I joined the city council in 1994. I look forward to advancing our community further in 2026. I note Beacon's success is a team effort, not only for us on the current council, but also our predecessors a good long ways back. And I just want to thank my colleagues on the city council, as well as all of the employees of the city, our department heads, our city administrator, and our deputy administrator who make it all happen, and as well as all the residents who volunteer their time for the city and for the community in so many ways. The focus of my community service across 4 decades has been the city of Beacon. It is an honor to serve our community, and I find it befitting to live in a place called Beacon, where we try to remember our past, to look forward, and to hopefully offer some light to inspire and guide other communities. Onward. Thank you. All right. Public comment. All right. So this is the first opportunity for public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, you got up to 3 minutes on any topic. And I've got Haywood. Are you on the list? Yep. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, thank you. I'm just here again about my street. You go down in Phillips Street on the right. When you go into Phillips, there's a tree. I'm sorry, I'm Ward 4. There's a tree that's going to fall. It's dead. All the bark is off it. And then also on Phillips Street and Rendy, there's usually a big, huge commercial vehicle. And I want to know, is commercial vehicles allowed to park on the street all night? Even when we had the storm, it was there. So I'm trying to find out about that. Other than that, everything is good, and I'm just concerned that we're going to have a very bad accident on Phillips because they're parking on both sides of Phillips, and you can park on both sides. But it's so hard to get out, and then when someone parks a big commercial vehicle or something and move it over there, it makes us still trying to get out. We got to stick our head out, and then the traffic is coming this way, you could get hit. And for them keep blocking the walkway when the kids come from school, they can't go across the street. So I just hope that, you could do something about that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else want to make a comment in the public? All right. Come on up. There you go.
Make a comment. Speaking as a concerned resident, life always sounds better in the media. I only wish we heard from more residents at city council meetings. Some stories are not so pretty. Tonight's agenda is putting the horse before the cart. The city must first establish a legal historic preservation commission before expanding the city's list of historic properties, most of which were on the list during the last go-round to no avail. All this is being done without taking into account that we should be focused on protecting all our historic viewsheds, our historic Main Street, our historic riverfront, which are all on the cusp of being overdeveloped. with no sense of preservation, protection, or saving the little green spaces, and with general public safety concerns, as well as the lack of public parking. It's all about the concept of more. More is not always better. The more crap food you eat, the fatter you get. The more drugs you allow to become normalized, the more stupid we see. More ugly buildings to become cookie-cutter USA. Keep it up. My concerns have increased due to the environmental review led by the state parks. I am not in favor of the Fjords Trail Linear Park, focusing on Beacon. Speaking of trails, I still believe the spur line should become a light rail system to improve the connection from the river to the mountain. As a member of many historic organizations, I am happy to hear that Beacon will focus on the nation's Rev 250. We have to pick our battles on Main Street. It was only a few short years ago that this table refused to even stand up for the pledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the physical public want to make a comment this evening? Okay, anyone online, Ben?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment this evening, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen. If you're joining by streaming on YouTube, you'll need to navigate to our Zoom link instead. You can do so by going to the city website calendar, where there's a link listed for tonight's meeting. As of now, Mayor, we have no hands raised on Zoom.
All right. We're now going to shift to council workshop, so just give us a little while to work our way through 4 items, and then we'll come back and do local laws and resolutions. You don't have to go anywhere, but this time is for us. So the first one, and Natalie, you're going to come up, right? You're going to swap with Chris. We're going to talk historic district landmark overlay nominations. Thank you all for coming in. I certainly appreciate it, so thank you. How are you, Natalie?
I'm well. How is everyone?
All right.
Amazing. Great. Well, I wasn't going to share my screen. The materials that are online are kind of the materials I was going to talk through tonight, but I can share if that's going to be helpful during the discussion. Wanted to follow up on our earlier meeting in February where I think we last talked on this topic. And give you some updates. So what we've been doing since then is we did revisit each of the 17 sites that were kind of considered in one of the previous nomination rounds, and mostly went to the sites to just see had there been any substantial changes since the 2019-2020 kind of consideration when those forms were first drafted, just to kind of note if there was significant material changes or things like that. So happy to report it was winter. Winter's always hard on homes, right? So there's a lot of wear and tear that I'm sure homeowners are looking forward to kind of touching up. But the majority of the properties in the list had not, seen substantial renovations or removal of any historic aspects. There was, I think 2, which we documented in the forms that are posted online, where 17 Church had added actually back in some historic porch details on their front porch. And then we did have one property, 20 South Ave, where some of the porch details, maybe in a renovation, it looked like the rest of the porch was redone and some of the detail was removed, but a majority of the historic fabric of that property still remains. So largely what you see in terms of the forms in front of you tonight were updates where there was a new photo or something new that had to be documented that was added, and a lot of ownership change, so change in property owners, which is information on the form and obviously important to our notification process. So in terms of the form, they're all still listed as draft. Kind of the language of the code, they will be draft until after the public hearing, right? Because you're listening, property owners have the opportunity to come and speak and share information on their property, as does the public. So the forms will remain draft until after the public hearing. I kept John Clark, the previous planner's information on there, since he did a majority of the research and the historic completion of the historic forms. You'll see my name added only where I had to kind of change and update information, but we did go through each of the forms. And then I think one of the other things that was discussed at last meeting, I think, Mayor, I don't know if you want to talk about Beacon Historical Society and potentially getting them involved in looking at additional properties.
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, a couple of bits I've heard along the way. the Beacon Hebrew Alliance building, which is one of our lists that we're looking at, they've been communicating with us. They're looking at doing some major construction, so they're a little concerned, but they want to see what we're, they're very interested in what we're doing, not necessarily, pro or con. And the other one, the Elks Club reached out and are interested in being included, which is not in our current list. But remember that when John Clark put this together, we were looking at Main Street and around Main Street. And where we haven't done a full look recently is past that area. And I've asked the Historical Society and also a couple of residents to get involved in putting a committee together, making sure they have enough training to kind of see what's out there, and then to do a look and to come back and talk about what are potential additions beyond Main Street and the few blocks on either side. Where I think we're going to have some areas to include is on the mountain side of the creek. There isn't much in our area around where you live, Amber. There's some interesting homes like off Liberty Street, kind of in that section, Robinson, right in there. I think we will find a few in there. I think that's the main one. Most of the other ones have been picked up, and we'll look at it, comprehensively. But what I'm thinking is, after we do this, because Clark had already provided the inventories, and he's a pretty good expert, he's been doing this for a long time, that the next batch will find another group and ask them to do that. And they'll probably come back to us, I don't know, end of the year, next year, somewhere in there. But we just want to get through this batch now.
I guess, though, since the Elks Club reached out proactively, and they, I think it was last year was their 100-year anniversary, is there any opportunity to just include them in this round, since they've already expressed interest, and, does the timing work out for that?
I think we could easily, I haven't looked into the building in terms of, meeting one of the 3 criteria that's in the code, right? So you'd want to still kind of do that research. I think it would mostly just be preparing the form prior to notification, right? Because you have to give the property owner the ability to look at the form and the information that's been prepared on the site.
Okay. And I know it looks like our next step for this is setting the public hearing, which is later on in our agenda, and the target date for that is the first meeting in April, I think. So I'm assuming that we haven't done the notifications yet. Those are going out after this meeting. Okay. I would just say, if it doesn't delay the process, just since they've been proactive about reaching out, it might be worth just getting them in right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because when you do the inventory, the original structure is a large single-family home, and then they built onto it. So it'll be interesting to have someone with a historic eye look at it to say what portions are of historic interest, or maybe the whole building, because of the organization.
Because of the community aspect.
That's what I was thinking,
Right.
that it may be more I forget the term we use for that, but when they did the 100-year plaque, they talked about all the things that have occurred in that building that were part of the community, the send-offs for people joining the wars, and so it may be more of like a Forrestal House situation for that one.
Yeah.
Which is the second criteria, right? Special character value as part of the cultural, political, economic, and social history of the community. So we could consider it under that.
Go ahead.
I have a question about Forrestal. The form acknowledges that most of the architectural details have been kind of gone at this point.
For which one, sorry, which property?
The Forrestal home.
Forrestal home,
yes.
189 Fishkill Avenue. So if we do add it to this list, what does it mean? Because there are no historical details left.
Well, I think you would look at, there's the regulations within the code, it's about preserving it. So I'd have to look at the state standards in terms of, basically it gives, I'm not going to make the judgment of what the body, who is the planning board, would make, right? But it gives an extra look at it so that if there is work proposed on that, people could say, is this going to significantly impact the structure as it was? So the cultural ones are interesting. I can pull that information from Department of State. They kind of have guidance on what can change and cannot change. So I haven't actually seen too many of those kind of come in front of either HDLP, like historic boards or planning boards, so as they were reviewing it. You often see the architectural the ones that have been designated because of their architectural characteristics. So what does that mean? I think it would be a conversation, which a lot of this, we talked through one of them, and I'll talk through it in a second, in terms of one that was removed, and it's not necessarily a black and white conversation that happens with these properties, right? Once they're designated, there is the listing form that talks about the specific characteristics that were part of its nomination and why it's there. But it's still definitely, I think the Department of State's guidance, historic organizations, how they review materials. Can solar panels be added to historic structures, right? And that whole conversation. So it's never black and white about what can change and what can't change. Really, this is about setting a step in a process to have that reviewed. So I don't know what exactly would not be able to change about 189. I can pull the guidance, give that to you, but
Yeah,
it's
that'd
more
be
that it would
interesting,
have
yeah.
the opportunity to be considered.
Yeah, the
Right.
one thing that's different, and maybe, Nick, you can help, in our statute, the way, which is actually set up, the identifying of historic elements is mirroring the state model statute. And if we don't identify any historic elements, but we do it because of the history, not the features of the building itself, does that mean that you'd have to maintain a single-family home, but the rest is up to the planning board? Or would they be able to remove the structure? Maybe we should be thinking about a plaque as opposed to a historic overlay. I'm just wondering, how does the law set up in that situation, our own statute? Would you have to look at that?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it a bit more, but if it's, so it would not be SHPO eligible for the state registry, it's just going to be locally designated
That's correct.
as an historic structure. No, I'll look at the code and advise you on that. I've not looked at that before.
Because this is an edge case, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate, all your commentary that it largely is going to be judgment calls, but this is like right on the edge, right? We got no features.
Yeah.
But it's of historical significance, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the language in our code, and again, it's just never black, like the historic or architectural value of significance of the structure and its relation to the historic character of the surrounding area. That is what the planning board takes into consideration when they're thinking about modifications to this.
Yeah.
And it talks about history, not just architecture, right? So I think was there a moment on that porch, right? Was there a moment somewhere on that property? I think you'd have to dive a lot more into it, and it'd be specific to each site.
Okay. Yeah, that I think I'm with Sergey. I'd like to learn a little bit, because it's the edge case, right? The Elks might be similar, right? Because if it's lost a lot of the original features of the building and it's there because of their important part of the community, what does that allow them to do or not do? It's a very large property. If they wanted to develop homes on the one side street, would that be okay? I think we should ask ourselves those on the edge cases.
Yeah, so what does the certificate of appropriateness review look like for properties that are designated for historic aspects rather than architectural
Yes,
aspects?
right.
Absolutely.
You have a view now, or you want to have a view later?
No, I'm going to have a view later, a more considered view.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem, because we have time, and we're doing this because we're trying to learn how to do it,
Yep.
right?
The one other update I wanted to give is there was only one property that was removed, so where we went from 17 to 16 properties. And this was the council had asked that we reach out to the building department and see had there been any recent permits or open permits for any of these properties. And then we also asked about interpretation of some of the language. So in doing that review with the building department, we did find that one of the properties, 19 Commerce, had siding changes, had roof shingle material gone from slate to asphalt shingles, had other aspects in visible portions of the building change. So because of the number of changes there that had kind of been noted in the previous form and then removed or lost, we did remove that one from the listing.
Makes sense.
The other aspect, if you remember in the code, once the nomination process starts, there is kind of a pause on any new building permits, and we wanted to get the building inspector's interpretation on that is it would only be new permits, right? Anything that's already been issued, work that has already been approved can proceed because they can't necessarily pull that back. And then it would only be building permits for exterior changes that would be subject to review by the body. So if you're doing a bathroom renovation inside, that would never be for review under the HCLO criteria. So the building department's not going to, right? They're interpreting the language of the code to say it puts a pause on building permits that would impact exterior aspects of the property.
Okay.
And Brian's even a bit more limited. It's exterior aspects that would affect the historic or aesthetic appearance of the building.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that, yeah.
So I think that was it for the updates in terms of the forms and everything that's in there. Have the notes about additional consideration of Elks Club and particulars of COA review. I don't know if you wanted to go over process in terms of next steps, Nick, or did you want me to do that?
Well, so the next steps are we're going to provide each of the listed property owners via regular mail and certified mail with a copy of the notice of public hearing, the nomination form, and then a cover letter that will explain to them what is happening, refer them to the city code, provide a copy of the city code section behind it as well, because we want them to understand not just the process, but also what does it mean in the future in terms of development of a property, what they can do and can't do. And that's going to be sent to each of the property owner's address as listed on with the assessor.
Okay.
And so that would be sent to them. And then, of course, it gets published in the newspaper as well.
I may be misremembering, but the letter that goes out to the property owner, I feel like we had done some work on that the first time we did this to try and make it easier to understand. Will we be using the same?
We will be. If you like, I can send that to the council beforehand, so if there's any feedback, you can provide that to me.
Okay. Yeah, it might be nice for people to see it, because I know we tried to make it, like, not, like, here's a bunch of code, like, we
Yes.
tried to explain it in a way that was hopefully understandable.
Great, I'll get
And that gets sent with an invitation to the public hearing, too?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Do you
I'm
want
just
an
clarifying.
engraved invitation, or just a?
No, I just want to make sure that all the action items are clear before you get lost in code.
No, agreed. I think we put that up front, put it in bold, but I will circulate a draft of that letter.
Thanks.
So you can see, and I'll include all the materials, so you sort of like, you'll get a sample of what will receive. And we send it via regular mail because the code says certified mail as well, but not everyone will pick it up from the post office or get it, so we figured regular mail and certified would be the best way to do it.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, good. So we will keep advancing that. I will let you know when I know more about a committee to look at other ones.
I have one question just popped into my head. If a resident can't make it to the public hearing, do they have another way to, if they have a question or a comment or a concern, is there another way to reach out if they're not available that day?
I believe, yes, they can provide comments in writing. They can indicate their consent or objection. They can also request that it be held open so that they could attend at a meeting date when they are available. And I believe that occurred last time.
I think so.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think we're all
it for
set
me?
with you, and, yeah,
I'll give Chris back his seat.
all right.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Yep. So we have a couple of appointments, and one is to the Board of Assessment Review. And Ben, you're going to take us through those?
Yes, Mayor, and I think I'll be rather brief, but if there's questions, I'm happy to take those. We do have 2 vacancies for the Board of Assessment Review right now, and we have 2 applicants who have come forward and are willing to serve in that capacity. The mayor has screened those and found them to be good candidates for the board, as well as our assessor Kathy Martin, and we're glad to have people who are willing to take the time to do this process. That'll be coming up end of May on the 27th, I believe. Is that correct, Nick? We spoke about, that's the date when people can challenge their assessment.
Yes, that is correct, Ben. That's the date.
And so these board members will have some time to get onboarded with the training that they need to do. Just to go through them briefly, we have Karen Morales. She is a small business owner in the community. We think that's a valuable perspective to bring to the board. And then Mr. Merlarkey brings a background in construction and construction estimation, which we think is also a valuable perspective to this process as people are going through and they're reviewing assessments. So we're pleased to bring both of these candidates to you. If you move forward with them, we will notify the county and we will proceed with getting them sworn in and with moving forward with the training that they need to do. And also, lastly, I'll say that we're planning to have Kathy come to speak to the council at the end of April, as we typically do, to walk and remind residents through the process for if they have any questions or concerns about their assessment.
Okay, everybody good? And again, the important part is, as Ben mentioned, in May is the assessments go out before then, and then there is an opportunity for grievance where and they come to the Board of Assessment review. So the one activity they do each year is there's 1 or 2 nights in May where they have to be there. So I just want to get them in place for that. All right? Thank you. And then the last item is on Catherine Street. There's a drainage easement issue, and Nick, I don't know enough about this, so you're going to tell us all.
I am. So let me start with a general overview. When the planning board reviews a subdivision or a site plan, sometimes they'll identify that there's a need either for new public infrastructure, and then that will be brought to the city council to be dedicated and accepted because it will be turned over to the city, and the city will have that responsibility to maintain it, whether it's a water line, a sewer line, stormwater line. Sometimes it's a sight line easement to prevent trees from being planted at an intersection, corner of an intersection, that would interfere with cars' sights when they're turning, or items of that nature. Additionally, when a project is reviewed, sometimes we have found that there's a need to modify an existing easement, and the property owner will put in a new utility pipe. Or we find that there's an existing city infrastructure, but an easement can't be located, either because it was recorded incorrectly, or perhaps there wasn't one recorded because it was done a long time ago. In this case of 105, 107 Catherine Street, there was found that there is an existing city stormwater drainage easement. So it's not water, it's not sanitary sewer, it's to collect stormwater. And that exists on the property. It's recognized that it's city infrastructure. However, an easement was not located. So the property owner will be preparing an easement. Our office has reviewed it. It's included in the packet. An easement is a written document whereby the property owner is granting the city the right to maintain its property on the property owner's property. That gets recorded up in Dutchess County, and that then places future property owners on notice that the city has the right to go on that property. And importantly, it also prohibits the property owner in many cases from doing something over that. So if you have a utility line, you can't put a pool on top of it. And the city enforces those, and also most people get a survey, those easements get called out, and we really haven't had issues, but it's important that these easements be recorded. So in this case, there's not an easement. It's also where the line is currently located, it's within the building envelope. So the property owner of 105, 107 Catherine Street has one lot that goes from Catherine Street to Rombout Avenue. They wish to subdivide it to create 2 lots. The front lot on Catherine Street will remain as the existing auto repair shop and apartments. The back lot, which is just used for storage on Rombout Avenue, will be turned into a single-family home, as will the vacant lot owned by that property that is to the left of it. Okay. So there's going to be one new lot created for a single-family home, and so the property owner will be installing a new stormwater pipe at their expense, and then dedicating that to the city and giving the city an easement. So tonight you're just approving the acceptance of that easement and the city administrator to sign it.
Okay.
Just so I understand, or if I'm viewing the maps correctly, the stormwater drain will remain, it will basically go sort of under the parking lot between the 2 houses?
Correct. So it's going to go underneath the shared driveway. The 2 properties, will be one curb cut for the 2 houses, and there'll be a common driveway easement. And the utility, the stormwater pipe goes underneath that and then continues on to the existing auto repair shop and apartment buildings out to Catherine Street.
And in it being relocated under that shared driveway, it does not go into the other vacant lot? It stays in the subdivided lot?
No, it does. It, in essence, straddles the property line. It's about 10 feet on either side.
Okay, so our easement is for both properties?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is one common ownership.
Yes, yeah. I'll just comment that I used to live across the street from those buildings, and I'm sad that those old cedar trees, it seems, will be disturbed by this.
And these are the apartments on Catherine Street, right? And then
I lived on Rombout,
it's on the back side.
yeah.
Got it. All right. Okay. Yeah, this was an unusual, I assume that this was a business in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and it kind of stays that way.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's an improvement.
It's, right, because it's in the R1-5 zoning district, yes, so it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, I believe.
Yep. Any other comments, folks? We okay?
Yep.
I think that's it for tonight. Is that right? We good, Chris? Yeah. Yep. All right, so let's go on to reports. Who wants to start up? Actually, I'll start up. How about that for a night? I'm just going to read one item, which is a proclamation. And so this is in honor and remembrance of Eleanor Thompson, whereas the City of Beacon joins in the mourning of the recent passing of longtime Beacon resident and former City Council member Eleanor Thompson, and offers our condolences to her family, friends, and colleagues as they gather to celebrate her distinguished life. And whereas throughout her time in Beacon, Eleanor actively was involved and deeply committed to making the City of Beacon a better, more vibrant, inclusive, and equitable community for all. And whereas Eleanor was elected 4 times to the Beacon City Council, twice in Ward 2 and twice at large, serving her community from 2002 through 2009, was active in the Beacon community as program director at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center, and a board member of the Howland Cultural Center, and an artist and mentor for those in the arts. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Lee Kyriakou, issue this proclamation in honor and remembrance of Eleanor Thompson, and in her celebration of her dedicated public service and community volunteer efforts, I hereby designate this day, March 1, that was her Memorial Day yesterday, 2026, as Eleanor Thompson Day in the City of Beacon, in honor of one of our true community leaders. There was a ceremony for Eleanor at the Beacon Light Tabernacle, which is just up the road on 90. So, thank you. And that's all I've got. Let me start with Amber and go around this way.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention that I recall Mr. Haywood's comments from previous meetings, and I think we were going to check on the tree, so hopefully we did that. I'm also wondering if there's any regulation about parking that requires distance from the corners that we can help enforce. And then I have 2 things. First, I just wanted to thank and give a shout out to the Howland Library for 2 things. First, their adult programming. I recently finished a course of Mahjong lessons. It was really fun. They now have open play if anybody wants to give that a try. And then second, they held a community drive that benefited Grace Smith House, among other organizations. Grace Smith House provides shelter and services for those impacted by domestic violence, and there's a pantry of food and hygiene items that are open to folks there. That pantry is kind of always on, up and down. It's donation-based. I had the pleasure of dropping off the donations before my board meeting at Grace Smith House last week, and the staff and board were just so delighted by the generosity of the Beacon community, and so thanks on their behalf as well. So there's a lot happening at the library. They're such a great community resource. I really appreciate them. Check out what they have going on. I think you'll find something that would be of interest to you. And then lastly, this one is for any students who are in their last couple of years of school and their caretakers, parents, guardians. This is from Congressmember Ryan's newsletter, but the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley administers more than 50 scholarships, and they have like a single application that you can fill out, which is super convenient. But the deadline for that is March 15th, so 2 weeks from now. They have opportunities for students attending 4-year colleges, community colleges, trade or technical programs, so there's a lot offered there, and like I said, a single application, making it easy to apply. So if you are about to finish your high school education, you have about 2 weeks to complete this application, and you can go to communityfoundationshv.org and select the scholarship tab to apply, and I wish you the best of luck in getting a scholarship. And that's all from me.
All right. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for his State of the City address. It was very impressive to see the progress in the city's finances, and appreciate all of the work that's been done by everybody in the previous administrations, as well as the mayor's current administration for their work to get that in good order. I also had the pleasure of attending the Festival of Lights Parade this past week. It was a wonderful event, great turnout this year. Thank you to the organizers for putting that together. A lot of fun had by all, and especially some of the art installments and the various floats and things that people designed were very, very cool. So thank you all for that. I also had the pleasure of attending the Beacon's Backyard fundraiser this past weekend to raise money for our hungry neighbors. Was very happy to take part in that. I would also like to forward thanks from several residents in Ward 2 for the allocation of grants for the new sidewalks near South Avenue Elementary School. There are some people who are very excited about that, so very happy to see that. And lastly, I'll be holding office hours this weekend at Noble Pies on Saturday the 7th from 10 to 11 a.m. Feel free to RSVP if you can, if you want priority for that time. And if you can't attend, please do let me know, and I will make time elsewhere for that. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Just a reminder, since the snowstorm canceled JB Forstall's Black History Month Gallery Walk, it was rescheduled for this Thursday the 5th at 6 p.m. And as always, my time is your time, so call, text, or email to schedule to meet or talk with me.
Coming all the way around.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much for the state of the city. It's always nice to see all the different things that the city is doing. I also attended the Celebration of Light. It was fantastic. Thank you to all the organizers. Thank you to the Highway Department and the Water Department and all the departments for snowfall again. If we could not have it tonight or tomorrow, that'd be great. I don't know if it's up to them, but if it does snow, thank you in advance for taking care of us yet again. Coming up in the future, I have a office hours community conversation with Yvette Valdez-Smith that is tentatively scheduled for Sunday, March 22, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. It's going to be like a group discussion, so if you would like to meet with me in person, you can always drop me an email and we can meet one-on-one. Just a reminder that this Sunday is daylight savings time, so spring forward. And I saw the announcement that the Backyard Trees program is back, and you have until April 1st to buy a tree. I have taken advantage of this in my backyard. You might be talking about that more, Chris. I don't know if you had plans.
Please.
I will speak very highly of it. I love my 2 trees. They're growing so well, and they're adding a lot to the value of just they're just so nice. I love the trees. And the one last thing I want to say comes from the Dutchess County Legislature. They are looking for interested residents and stakeholders from across the county to join one of the county's many advisory boards and committees. So that's the Community Services Board, the Dutchess County Criminal Justice Council, Citizens Advisory Committee on Domestic Violence, Commission on Human Rights, Dutchess County Fire and Safety Advisory Board, Fish and Wildlife Management Board, and the Soil and Water Conservation Board. If you would like to be more involved at the county level, it would be fantastic to see Beaconites represented at the county level on any one of those advisory boards. You can express interest by emailing your resume and a brief statement to countylegislature@dutchessny.gov. I will put some of that information on my Instagram account when I get a chance to later today, just because that was a lot. And that is all that I have for today.
All right, thank you for the State of the City address. It was interesting, and remarkable work has been done. I have also attended and participated in the Beacon Spring Celebration of Light parade. It was great to see so many people and kids and creativity and fun, and we were very lucky between a slushy Friday and a snow dumpy Sunday, and it was perfect weather. I want to acknowledge that I have been hearing a lot about traffic issues on Washington Avenue. This topic was brought up to the Traffic Safety Committee this past Thursday. I have attended. Some of these questions are very complicated, but I want to let residents know that the council is aware, and we're thinking about how to address some of the issues brought up. I have signed up for Snapshot New York, which is a program run by DEC and Cornell Extension, where the homeowners near interesting natural areas can get a trail camera. And some of you know I live right next to the creek, so I just received today a camera, and that will be mounted near the creek and document wildlife for several months. And all of this information will go on a Cornell website, and they have cameras that try to cover the whole state. The whole state is divided into quadrants, and they're trying to understand the patterns of movement of wildlife. And I think that would show how important the Fishkill Creek is as a wildlife corridor. Talking about that, New York DEC and Hudson River Foundation hosting a webinar on Wednesday, March 4th, Trends in the Hudson Riparian Hudson Estuary and its watersheds. It's an online event. More information is at duchessland.org, Duchess Conservation, Land Conservation, and then they will talk about the importance of tributaries and Hudson River health. Fishkill Creek Watershed Alliance is starting back our monthly water quality sampling in Fishkill Creek. The next one is this March 8th on Sunday. This is in partnership with Vassar and Bard Colleges and Beacon Institute. We have two teams, one starting in Madame Brett Park at 8:30 and another in Unionvale at 9, and then we sample and collect and meet at Sarah Taylor Park. If you are interested, fishkillwatershed.org. Lastly, on Tuesday, March 10, County Legislator Molly Rhodes and myself will host office hours at 1 East Main Tracks. If this time doesn't work, please reach out. I'll find time to speak to you. Thank you.
All right. So we had a conversation last meeting about our city priorities, and I wanted to reiterate my suggestion that we dedicate either the 4th or the 5th Monday of this month of March to an extended workshop on our forthcoming comprehensive plan and any other items other council members would like to discuss. If that's not feasible, I still hope we continue this conversation soon. And I'll also reiterate that affordable housing is my highest priority, and I look forward to spending time on that topic as we wrap up the next steps with the HDLO. Carolyn gave the update I was going to give about county boards, so go back and listen to that. And my closing thought or ask in terms of the state of the city is to stay weird, Beacon. If you follow current events, you may see the world as an increasingly scary place. And in the midst of that, please keep showing up for each other in weird and wonderful ways. Maybe that is throwing a lantern parade between snowstorms with a giant horse head, or learning to play mahjong with people you don't know or don't know yet. As I think about what's happening in the wider world, I also think about something that our former colleague, Justice McCrae, helped me understand, which is that community is safety. And so I hope that we stay kind to each other and stay connected. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, let's do our business. I guess we're on to, Chris, anything you want to add?
I have a couple updates.
Sorry.
I just want to let you know that we put our CDBG application in for the sidewalks on along South Avenue Elementary School. We also have out to bid the sidewalks along Wolcott from last year's grant, so we'll be bringing that to you at the next meeting. Thank you for announcing the tree program. If you do want to sign up for a tree, just go to beaconny.gov, and on our website you can go through the order form, and those deliveries will be made in April. And then finally, I wanted to announce that we finalized the closing of the Beacon Engine Firehouse late Friday afternoon. So at 5:45 we closed on that property, and we have now I do want to say the realtor did an outstanding job. We got $3.45 million for those two firehouses that went directly to paying down the debt for the firehouse across the street that we built. And I do have to say Charlotte Guernsey from Compass Realty did an absolute extraordinary job in pricing these, and then in marketing them and finding that right buyer. And we look forward, many of you already know it's the worst held secret that Maze is going to be stanza books with apartments. This is going to be a single-family home by people that really appreciate historic buildings, and we can't wait to see both firehouses. So again, thanks to Charlotte, thanks to Nick for getting us through kind of a long process.
Yes.
But he got us to the finish line, and that's all I have.
Thanks.
Okay. And I was so looking forward to doing a presentation on the deed research that I did on the Beacon Engine building.
We'll have to do that
Why-
another nightmare.
You can add that to the fifth Monday workshop.
There
I
you
think,
go.
March
Exactly.
23rd. I would
thinking
second
the 6th
that.
Monday.
I'm definitely busy that week.
Yeah, I'm on vacation that week.
All right, so let's do our resolutions. I've got looking for a motion and a second to support, to appoint Carolyn Morales to the Board of
Motion.
Assessment Review. So that was-
Can I make a motion to take 24 and 25 as a consent agenda, both Karen and Burgess for the Board of Assessment Review?
Second.
Sure.
Okay.
All in favor of combining 24 and 25, say yes.
Aye.
All right,
And then the motion to
so-
vote on it came from Lestar.
let's start, and who will second it?
I'll second.
Very good. And the only thing I will add is they both wanted to be on the Board of Assessment Review. So usually I have to
Wonderful.
beg. So this was good. So all in favor of appointing Karen Morales and Burgess Malarkey to the Board of Assessment Review, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. The next one, I'm looking for a motion, a second, to accept a drainage easement.
Motion.
Second.
So that's
Zach and Sergey.
Zach and Sergey. This is for 105, 107 Catherine Street. We just heard Nick discuss that. Anything else that we need to know or discuss? Nope. All right, so all in favor of accepting the drainage easement at 105, 107 Catherine Street, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, and then finally, I just need a motion and a second to set a public hearing. This is for the HDLO nominations, and it would be for April 6th.
And Mayor, the attachment to the resolution has been added and references 17 properties, including the Elks Lodge at 900 Walcott Avenue, as discussed during your work session.
All right.
Okay, motion.
All right. So,
Second.
that's Amber and Lestar. If we get the work done for the Elks Club, we'll add it. If for some reason we can't get it done, we'll pull it out.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah, that sounds right. Everyone good with that? All right, so all in favor of setting that public hearing for April 6th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Then can I get a motion, a second, to approve the minutes of February 17th?
Motion.
Second.
So that's Carolyn and Paloma. Any comments, additions, corrections?
No?
Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of February 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This is the second opportunity for public comments. Ben, anyone online?
We do have one speaker online. That is Katie Helmuth. Katie, you have permission to speak whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Oh, hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thanks everyone for your work tonight. Great updates. Can you tell me, for the Board of Assessment Review, who are the two people who resigned? The last time we had nominations was in October 9th, 2025, which was Michelle Rios, a realtor, and David Ross, a curator of museums, and a board member here at the Southern Dutchess Country Club, who was also recently found in the Epstein files and resigned his position elsewhere. I also wanted to just know if you can tell us who resigned, when they resigned, and why they resigned, and also why there was no public announcement of these two vacancies. I wanted to note that for the people you have appointed tonight, I do know Karen Morales. She's a great business person. I've worked with her. She has great insight and a spirit for Beacon. When she had her storefront Not Too Shabby on Main Street, offering a great service to the community, and she cared a lot. She moved out to Fishkill, where they bought a house, and she set up shop in a little house there along Route 52, and held classes there, and just helped people with the Annie Sloan home furniture paint. If you could answer those questions for us of who resigned from the Board of Assessment Review, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. So
So we don't go into details on personnel matters. The two individuals who served before were Mr. Ross and Mr. Puglisi, I believe the gentleman's name
Yeah,
was.
so,
So that's generally all we provide.
okay. Okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and he didn't resign, he passed away.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So Bobby Polisi,
Yeah, for the,
very involved in softball, life member of Maze. We had the memorial bunting on the firehouse for his fire service.
yeah, that's the dark bunting when if you were passing by and you were wondering what that was Bobby. And then, yeah. Okay, so I just want to announce the next meeting, which is March 16th, so that would be Monday at 7 o'clock at this space, and I think that's all we got. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
I'll second it.
All
So
right.
Amber and the mayor, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Or anyone opposed? Thank you all, have a good night.
Recording
Amber, it wasn't